On this week's Tony and Josh show, on the 1-year anniversary of the Ferguson shooting, ignorance is rampant. We both cover stories from our own hometowns about the various protests. And we have some space news. Mars may be where the girl from the Ring movie now resides.
Tony breaks down the breakdown of this White House aide who decided to shoot her Capitol Police boyfriend. Something tells me there's no happy ending to this one. And did he just watch too much Mr. Ed growing up, or did this man take his equestrian love a little bit too far? We'll mount up and get to the bottom of this one on this week's Tony and Josh show.
Warning. The opinions, ideas, views, emotions, and temper tantrums expressed or otherwise conveyed on the Tony and Josh show may not and most likely is not suitable for all audiences and therefore should not be heard by anyone unless supervised by an appropriate nanny state. Enjoy!
Yes, it's episode 83. If you're new to the Tony and Josh show, we're here to inform, entertain, and give you a laugh or two. We've searched the interwebs and found these earth-shaking stories to bring to you tonight.
That's right, Tony. Did he just watch too much Mr. Ed growing up, or did this man take his equestrian love a little bit too far?
Oh, no.
We'll mount up and get to the bottom of this one later in the show. Of course, Tony's also got a great story about, well, there's some protests going on all around, and I've got some personal aspects about that we're going to get into as well. Of course, we have some space news as well. What we haven't talked about in weeks is some good space news, so we'll get back into that as well. Mars may be where the girl from the Ring movie now resides. Yeah, we'll get into that later on.
I saw that picture. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it is creepy. And, we have some White House drama that we're going to peel the layers back on as well. So I cannot wait to pop the cork on this story or on this show tonight, guys. Stay tuned.
But first, we want you guys to give us a call using our SpeakPipe feature on our website at tonyandjosh.com. Hey, tweet us during the show at Tony and Josh Show. And don't forget to include us in your other tweets with hashtag Tony and Josh.
That's right. And of course, if you guys do want to leave us a voicemail, use that SpeakPipe feature on our website. We've got a fan that does that just about every week. His name is Nicky G. And always a pleasure to hear from him.
Don't say just about, because you're going to hurt his feelings.
Yeah, true.
It's every week.
There was that one time.
He said, "Oh, you won't let it go. You remember everything." Okay, here we go.
99.9%.
Hey, this is Nicky G. And holy crap, a guy smuggling eyeballs in his butt to make a stew. Don't you know those things taste like shit? Hey guys, I'll chat you later. You have a good one. Bye.
It's right there. It's right. The joke is right there. That's why sometimes on Twitter I'll post a picture and say, I'll just let everybody make their own jokes, because there's so many jokes available for an image or a situation, and there's certainly was several jokes for this that episode. And if you guys don't recall, basically a butcher was smuggling out cow eyeballs from his place of employment because they didn't sell them, they wouldn't give them away, and there was
only one way that man could sneak those out of that plant. And they were not in his mouth.
They must be employing ex-prison guards at the security at the butcher place, at the meat packing plant. So, meat packing, that's another joke that could be made.
I don't think you had to pack too hard to get that in there.
I'll just apologize now. So anyway,
send your complaints to Tony
right.
at tonyandjosh.com. No, guys, in fact, if you do want to leave us a review, that'd be great. We do appreciate the constructive criticism, or if you just want to reach out and say hi, you guys can do that as well. You can leave us a message on Facebook, send us a tweet. Of course, we're on iTunes as well. By all means, give us a 5-star review and leave us a comment.
Now, we're not saying your review has to be constructive. It can be not constructive at all. It can just be fun. But I like it when Josh says that, because we are open to suggestions. We're not professionals here. We're just a couple of knuckleheads with a couple of microphones, and we talk about pretty much anything we think we can get away with. So if you've got story ideas, and we actually have people that are giving us story ideas, Josh, and I know you're aware of it, but it's wonderful to have the audience involved in the show. We love it.
Yep. In fact, I need to give props where props is due. Dusty Dunn last week gave us, that crappy golf story. No, in fact, the story was great. If you missed it, by all means, go back and download episode 82, and you guys will have a great listen with that. Thank you very much, Dusty Dunn, for turning in that story. Guys, you can get an honorable mention as well on the show. Just send a story suggestion to newstips@tonyandjosh.com.
And I just want to give a quick salute to Dusty Dunn for being a sick, twisted freak like
Man,
like Josh and I.
love that guy. He's definitely on point. Great story, right on the radar. So yeah, keep up the good work. And hey, something else you guys want to keep attention of, keep apprised, save the date. October 16th, the Walking Dead bonus episodes are going to return. I was at work earlier today, and there was, I think, a little bit of a teaser video that was released on YouTube today. And I caught one of my coworkers looking. He's like pointing at the screen and pointing at me. He's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, me too. And so we're definitely looking forward to this very much. Can't wait for second, third week of October. Walking Dead returns. And of course, the Tony and Josh take on The Walking Dead will be released shortly thereafter. So bonus downloads for you guys. A lot of content coming your way in October. Speaking of return,
the Ferguson tragedy happened a while back. And it surprises me, Josh, the most surprising thing after the initial killing and then protests and other events that happened there, it's the anniversary. It's been a year.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been a year already.
That's amazing.
It's kind of a trip. Yeah.
My heartfelt sorrow goes out to the parents of the young man that was killed, and the store owners that were vandalized and looted, and everybody that had, and especially the police officer that has been fired and hasn't been able to get another job because of his lawful shooting of this individual. And I don't get into any argument with anybody about it. I'm just going by what the authorities have said.
Right.
And we've all watched bleeding heart liberal movies, and we know that the authorities may be lying.
Yeah.
but that's all I have to go by. I mean, there's conspiracy theories. Josh loves conspiracy theories.
Yes, I do.
So, he may be more in tune to wanting those conspiracies to have some roots
this one is pretty cut and dry, and it seems like a lot of the I'm going to use a term that is out there way too much. The libtards seem to forget is these are criminals. I mean, this one kid was.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was.
It was blatant. This is pretty black and white, and I hate to use that in a racial pun sense, but really this is. There's no gray area to this. This is what happened. This is why it happened, and the fact that you're protesting it is just really a call to your ignorance.
Well, I've said it before, and I think that there are valid things to complain about when it comes to police and how they treat minorities, black or Latin or Canadians. But the Canadians was a joke. And I think there's real things that need to happen there to improve that. I think everybody should be respected. But when people go out onto a limb and start protesting a criminal that was killed as he was trying to attack a police officer and take his gun, that's probably not the best one for you to protest.
Yeah, and here in Portland, folks, I live in the city of protest. And so if the wind blows the wrong direction one particular day or not, the streets are going to be filled. Guarantee it. So, of course, on the anniversary of
all that Starbucks coffee.
Oh, seriously. No, seriously. And so on the anniversary of this, of course, Portlanders came out in force and all but shut the city down. I mean, there were several demonstrations. There was one large protest which filled the streets. And people were they had the signs out and of course with the names of the victims and stuff like that. It's like, really, this is what you're hanging your hat on is an armed robber who decided that he was going to spend his night attacking a cop. That's who you're hanging your hat on. And then they had another gal's name on there who was a local news story where she tried to run a cop over.
Oh, geez.
Put it in drive.
How dare you?
It, and the cop, shot her because he was afraid he was going to get sucked out of his
life. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's so these are the people that they're demonstrating for. And it's like,
this isn't on the script, but this is a concern that I have with all these protests and getting people riled up. And the minority people specifically riled up because they've had enough. It seems that these tragedies are increasing because people are basically with that "how dare you" attitude. You're doing this to me because I'm black, because I'm Latin, because I'm Canadian, and I'm not going to put up with it. We had a situation here in Houston where a lady was talking to a Texas Department of Public Safety officer, and she was talking to him rough, and he told her it was a signal. She forgot to signal for a lane change, and he pulled her over, and she was just dash cam video. You could hear she was not happy about it. Wanted to know, why why is he messing with her? And she's smoking a cigarette. He tells her to put the cigarette out. She says, I don't have to. I'm in my own car. And then he decides he's going to arrest her. And she decides that she's not going to be arrested. And he didn't shoot her or anything. They arrested her, took her to jail, and she committed suicide. So now
I remember that that story, and they claimed that
it's not suicide. She was murdered in jail.
Yeah, that's what the claim was. I from what I could tell,
because it was a signal, and she did, and she disrespected the guard. So she disrespected the police officer. So the guards took it upon themselves to set an example. and murder, or better yet, the DPS officer snuck into the jail, in cahoots with everybody there, and killed her. That's what happened. So it's a very sad story. This lady was gonna be going to her new job that day, and none of this had to happen. But my point is, I wonder if these protests and this mindset that people are getting into is what's causing these tragedies. Because I don't know about you, Josh, but anybody I'm advising how to deal with the police, you be respectful and do what they say to do. And if you got a problem with them, after you're back home, you call up the police department, ask to talk to the specific people, and make a complaint. And if you got to, you take their ass to court and sue them.
Yeah. It's pretty cut and dry, but again, it's some people just don't have that logic gene.
Well, the other thing that's cut and dry, and it's good to see that at this 1-year anniversary of the Ferguson event, store owners were ready for Ferguson protesters this year. A video has emerged on the most recent unrest in Ferguson, Missouri, which shows the owners and employees of convenience stores that were looted last year taking precautions to make sure that it doesn't happen again. The video shows several armed individuals deterring protesters from getting anywhere near their store using shotguns and handguns. Several people were arrested during the protests throughout the day, yesterday, whenever this story was written, after refusing to disperse and throwing objects at police officers. So, Josh, here is a situation where a few individuals legally owning guns, legally able to own guns, are able to protect their livelihood, to be able to protect their jobs and basically their way of making money. And it's a local,
and rightly so.
Yeah,
too.
It's a local store that provides these goods and services to these protesters. And I'm not saying everybody in Ferguson is a protester, but certainly some of the ones that were looting and pillaging
picket signs. Get your picket signs here.
Yes.
Permanent markers and picket signs while they last.
You have to believe that they were at least going in there and purchasing some scratch-off tickets or something. So it's some way that was providing some service to them. So that really makes no sense to go in and damage the store because it's going to be down for a month or so as they rebuild it.
Again, this is the logic of the people there. It's like, yes, let's protest against these people, and now let's break this guy's window. Yeah, that seems like a good idea because he has something to do with this.
Nothing to do
with this. I don't know.
So it's
I never understood the logic of looting, especially behind a protest. I do get looting.
Yeah.
Sure, the world's coming to an end. All right, I'm going to get that big screen TV I've always wanted. Okay, sure. Why not?
Because it's nothing. It's not as good as going to the game as watching it on television. So I want to watch CNN cover the end of the world on this big screen television. Yeah, I got it. But anyway, so my point here is that because we live in a country that allows us at Second Amendment to own guns and protect ourselves and our property, that's what these people were able to do. And day 2 of the Ferguson protest, or the day after the Ferguson protest of the 1-year anniversary, they're still in business. They're still able to make money, and they're still able to go on. And I'll mention, nobody was shot. So just having the deterrent there was enough. So I don't know. You were talking about protests, Josh. I don't know if you had any of this stuff going on. You said they shut down the
so
city.
check this out. Yeah, check this out. So
I was looking on Facebook earlier, and I noticed Michelle Merhar, the traffic lady down at Fox 26. She posted a story about a car pushing through protesters blocking both sides of the highway in Ferguson. So, to me, it's like, and I even made this comment, it's basic physics, people. The car will be able to push the people out of the way.
Wow.
Unless you're watching The Walking Dead, and then you hit just rows and rows and rows of zombies. We saw that happen.
And then you hit that third gear power band, and you just get into it a little bit.
It's dead center. It's a dead center situation. It's not so much power, but anyway. So I don't know. Maybe you have some experience with this, Josh, as far as the legality. I mean, I know they legally can't block the road, but can a car gently push its way through and go on its way?
Here's the way I look at it is that if a pedestrian is in a crosswalk, pretty much no matter what, unless they're crossing against the light in the middle of rush hour traffic or something like that, I think that they're going to be in the wrong. I mean, you're going to be in the wrong. Now, if that person is outside of the crosswalk and they are in the middle of the road where vehicles travel, and they are not crossing the street with the light. I mean, essentially at that point, they are jaywalking. Whether they are just hanging out in the street, which is illegal, blocking traffic, that is illegal, or whether they are crossing the street outside of a crosswalk, that too is illegal, although pretty much every American has done it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's illegal. A police officer can write you a ticket, take you to jail, whatever. But right. I don't know that illegal means you can yell, ramming speed!
Yeah. Maybe.
and plow through them.
Look, I mean, this kind of falls in that category of I have the right to yell fire in a crowded theater, but that doesn't mean that I should. So even though you probably have the right to continue on, through the traffic thoroughfare, because this is a street and these people shouldn't be in the street, then you do have the right of way. Whether now this comes into an area where if you had done it responsibly, but if you just turn the corner and drop into second gear and floor it, well, chances are there's going to be some people that are hurt and your actions were irresponsible. Mm-hmm. And so you might be held at fault at that point. However, if you are going through at 2.5 miles per hour and somebody claims that you bruised their knee, well, too effing bad. You shouldn't have been in the street to begin with.
And remind people, this isn't a street. It is a major highway. 4 or 8 lane, I guess you would say, from both sides. 8 lane highway is what these people were blocking.
Well, see, now here in Portland, they damn near filled the city streets, and there were several that were including right in front of a major radio station down here in Portland. And one of the disc jockeys actually went out with his recorder and tried to interview one of these protesters. And this is Black Lives Matter protesters, because white lives don't matter, I guess.
You're reminding me of that guy that said that political guy that said that and then had to apologize for saying all lives matter.
All lives matter. Sure, why not?
Let's
protest that, because these bigots obviously don't have enough to complain about.
I'm gonna coin a new phrase. I was gonna say, pull your balls out, say the things that you mean, but I'm gonna start calling pull your Trumps out, because Trump seems to be the only person that's able to say these things. I guess having $6 billion makes you brave.
Yeah, we call that FU money. Yeah, because he's got the bank account to pretty much say whatever the hell he wants. So.
Putting the FU in fun. Donald Trump.
Right. So no, but the same thing happened here in Portland, and the cops weren't going to do anything about it. And that's kind of what pissed me off, is you have the street full of these protesters who are granted exercising their First Amendment rights, but they are clearly breaking the law.
Yeah.
And when it was pointed out to them, the cops said, hey, these people are clearly breaking the law. Here is the law. This person actually quoted an ordinance to the officer. The officer said, "We're not going to do anything about that."
Right. It's a political.
So you're refusing then to do the job that the people are now paying you to do. You're a public servant. Your job is to uphold the law. These people are breaking the law. Do something about it.
Yeah. And
we would rather. Here's a quote from one of the Portland police officers. Something along the lines of where is it? Police issued no citations and made no arrest, adding they prefer to, quote, let the group exercise their right to free speech. Well, isn't that special?
And I'm all for it. And again, I'm going to reiterate that I think that there is a reason for them to protest. I've been reminded by several people that are minorities that they get treated differently than what I get treated during a traffic stop. And I've spoken about mine to them, and they've spoken about theirs to me. And I know this person, and I know they're respectful, and I know they're not trying to pick a fight with a cop, and they get treated like crap. And that shouldn't happen. It's really a respect issue. The police need to be respectful to everybody that they talk to. I don't care if they're an obvious crack user, a heroin user with needles sticking out of their arms. They need to be treated with respect. And I think that if that respect was there, that a lot of this stuff wouldn't happen. A lot of these hurt feelings wouldn't happen, and people wouldn't be dying because of it. Okay, Josh, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for some space news.
Yeah, I was going to say we should probably move on, because I know that you and I could probably go down that rabbit hole for another hour, but we're not going to put our listeners through that. But we might go ahead and put you through some of this. Now, a strange figure has been seen in most recent feed from the Mars rover. Now, this is some very interesting stuff, guys. I'm just going to say this figure. This is weird. The truth is really out there. I'm going to coin that phrase from a familiar TV show.
I want to believe.
The truth is out there. Maybe. Well, anyways, a mysterious woman-like shape in a picture taken by NASA's Mars Curiosity rover is creating buzz all over the web. In a post entitled "Alien Woman on Mars Watching Rover from Hill," the UFO Sightings Daily website said that the shape, quote, looks like a woman partly cloaked. I, for one, am taking this with a grain of salt. Now, you remember the rock that everyone said was a squirrel? Yeah. Or how about them Bigfoots on Mars? You seen them, ain't you? Yeah, well, there was that wall crab thing last week as well, and now we have an almost ghostly woman haunting the surface of Mars that wears flowing clothing and stalks little rovers because that's just how she rolls. Oh, and
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I suppose this humanoid-like being has just so happened to have figured out the whole breathing in nothing but carbon dioxide and nitrogen that's roughly 100 times less dense than Earth's atmosphere thing too, huh? Well, in my analysis of the image anyways, I've come to the conclusion that maybe, just maybe, it is a cloaked ghost Martian woman. I mean, after all, there's been all this hype lately about NASA boasting the utmost eventuality of intelligent life being discovered outside of our own planet or solar system. So maybe they know something that we don't. But then I come to and realize that I've been sniffing crazy glue too much and start thinking that the figure on the red planet is a statue left over from a once great society. Because, that makes sense too. Then the high wears off, and I come to the ultimate conclusion that it's just a piece of dirt. Or dust. Definitely could be dust. The JPL has it on their website. It's all over Google and Facebook. We try and post the link up on our website if you guys want to take a look for yourself. So head to TonyandJosh.com right now. In fact, and you guys can, while you're there, send us a voicemail through our website and tell us what you guys think it is. Yes, we want to hear. And yes, we actually do have a way you guys can do that. So go over to TonyandJosh.com, check this picture out right now, and tell us what you guys think.
Yeah, so I looked at this picture. I was just thumbing through Tumblr for the articles, and I noticed that there was a picture there of the Martian surface, and they said something about this lady that was in the image, and I thought, I don't see nothing. I see rocks. I see very interesting looking rocks, slabs of rocks, and things that you might be able to split and see some fossils, if it was here on Earth. And then it was almost like finding a Waldo in the image.
There it is. Yeah.
So finally I saw this, and it was very interesting how it was poised in the middle of seemingly a platform to be standing on. And you can see that there's like a dress. It's got a low cut for the top of the dress. You can see an arm. You can see like flowing hair on one side. But yeah, it almost looks like a smudge, an image smudge. But you can definitely tell what they're talking about. Now, if you guys have ever woken up in the middle of the night, or maybe when you were young, you woke up in the middle of the night and you went and looked outside, you heard something, you thought you heard something, and it's dark. There's not really any lights, especially if you live in a very rural area. Your eyes can't quite get enough information from the light that it's seeing, so it will make up what you're trying to make images out of things that you can't quite see. And it can be kind of scary, especially if it's foggy out and you see these weird things and they're
shadows
just
moving. And,
And sometimes you don't even, it's not even a thing that moves, but you see a shape out there and it looks like a werewolf or, whatever it was that you've watched recently as a kid, whatever scary movie. And it's just very eerie. And I think that's what we're seeing here in these images, that if you had an actual, certainly there's plenty of light to see, but the problem is that the image isn't moving. And I think that if you had a video and if you saw that thing sitting
saw it raise an arm and point a finger at the camera.
Or if it was a statue and it stayed there frame after frame after frame, then now I think you have a real mystery. But on a single image, I think you can find pretty much anything you want in any image that there is out there.
I mean, I'm seeing a smiley face right now. So, I mean, there's, you can pick anything out of just about any kind of abstract, picture. And this is, for all intents and purposes, very abstract in the sense it's a black and white photo. There is a higher resolution. The highest resolution photo you're going to find is on the JPL website. And we will try and have that link up for you guys.
Yeah, I need to go have a look at that one. I actually pulled that into an image editor so I could zoom in, but, a higher resolution image would be more fun to look at. I'll have to try that. I was just talking about how things aren't quite clear when you don't have enough light on the subject, and I think lawyers use that a lot in trials. So I'm thinking that maybe a lawyer for this young lady might try to do the same thing. Make sure things aren't very clear if this ever goes to a jury. So a White House staffer fired gun at her Capitol police officer boyfriend.
This can't end well. I mean, there's no happy ending to this story.
So police say a White House staffer fired a gun at her U.S. Capitol police officer boyfriend when he refused to let her see his phones, plural, phones. That doesn't bode well, I think. I used to work with a guy at HP, and he talked to his wife on one phone, and I'm not quite sure what he did with the other two phones. Yes, this guy had 3 cell phones that he would take calls on.
Jeez.
He would lay them out on the table, and he would get calls and text and so on and so forth. I think we call him a player. So anyway, authorities said that Borvetta Singletary, a special assistant to President Barack Obama, demanded to see her boyfriend's cell phones amid an argument about another woman that he was seeing, allegedly. When he said no, obviously she's guilty, she grabbed the phones and his service weapon. So this guy is not trained very well. If not only an assailant can take his cell phones, but also take his gun. And the arrest warrant alleges that Singletary told her boyfriend, "You taught me how to use this. Don't think I won't use it." Singletary then allegedly fired 1 round at the sofa that her boyfriend was sitting on. He fled, do you think?
Yeah.
And left a trail and called 911. And that's pretty cold, man. I mean, you called 911 on your girlfriend? But, I guess you got to do what you got to do. The suspect, who made $126,000 last year as a White House staffer, has been placed on unpaid leave. And you know that 126? That's only 70% what a man would be making. So we are aware of the matter and temporarily placed the employee in question on unpaid leave and revoked her access to the complex until we have more information. Wow. If they had used this type of logic in the Iran deal.
If only.
We will take additional actions as needed, the White House said in a statement. Singletary faces a number of charges, including first and second degree assault and reckless endangerment. Well, I know her police boyfriend is looking forward to conjugal visits. I'm sorry, unarmed conjugal visits. This is amazing. I mean, just amazing. This person works or did work in the White House with President Obama.
I mean, at least in near proximity too. Yeah. I blows my mind.
A special assistant to President Barack Obama. So I'm thinking that if she's a special assistant to him, she actually talks to him.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
Somebody you didn't want to piss off. You got to
Seriously,
wonder. You got to wonder how well they check people out. I mean, I think this is just. I mean, I know women get upset, men get upset too, especially when there's jealousy of other competitors in emotional situations like that. But you have to think that they don't want people having guns. So that they can, they don't want people that are mentally deranged from having guns because of these mass murders, and they can't even figure out who's deranged or potentially off kilter well enough to know who gets in the White House and not next to the president.
I was going to say, I thought there was a very lengthy and exhaustive, very strict mental evaluation procedure that these people would go through. That if you weren't just squeaky clean upstairs, that you weren't allowed within 100 yards of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Unless it's a tour.
Well, but she obviously got underneath the radar, and I don't know, man. The girls snap. I've seen it myself. This one's no exception. I mean, you look at that astronaut gal who decided to throw on some diapers and drive across
Where the
country.
Depends, because that's what they used in space.
Astronaut. This is just a White House aide, almost basically doing the same sort of stuff.
Well, you can't say just for $126,000 a year.
It's true. 6 figures. Geez.
I'm sure Monica Lewinsky didn't make $126,000 a year.
Oh, but she. No, I'm not going to go there. So.
Anyway. So, this is a timely reference, Josh. Mr. Ed.
Yeah, now a lot of you guys out there, a lot of you folks have no idea who the hell Mr. Ed is.
Wilbur?
Yeah, there you go. He was a talking horse from the 60s and 70s. Well, maybe even before then. I
he was Wilbur's mom, reincarnated as a horse, right?
Yeah, so it was a TV show about a talking horse, and that's really about as far as that reference needs to go, and how much relativity it has to this story. So, guys, it's been a while since I have really assaulted your faith in humanity, and I'm sorry for that. I mean, sure, the dildo nunchucks was a horrible and awesome example of social behavior gone hilarious. I mean, terribly wrong. I mean, think of the children. And who can forget the guy doing the 5-finger pump in his driveway, or the dude who chucked a puppy at the Hells Angels biker gang? Classics, really. But this one brings in the step stool, climbs up, grabs a tail, and really takes a man's love for a horse to a whole new level. The leaves were turning in Pennsylvania on this October afternoon, where a certain 68-year-old Michael Crawford got himself a little itch. He'd about had it up to here with this whole My Little Pony thing. That was kid's play. I mean, bronies to him was like amateur hour. Michael's ready for the big leagues. A rampant addiction to Horse Rider magazine quickly spiraled out of control. So when nervously taking care of business in the stands at the racetrack wasn't enough, he did what any horse-loving, sick-twisted freak might do. He turned to Craigslist. The keyboard was aflame with desire as Mr. Crawford spewed forth his master plan into the greater public eye. This wasn't the first time he'd looked for love in all the wrong places. Apparently, he'd been traveling the country since the 1970s. On the search to find horse owners willing to let him have sex with their animals. The ad was almost immediately...
I'm Mr. Ed.
You're about 2 minutes and 30 seconds too late. Oh, man. But the ad was almost immediately responded to, much to the glee of our horse humper. But it wasn't a fellow horsey lover who replied back to the nay ad. Nope. It was just who you'd expect. An undercover sheriff's deputy responded to one of his online advertisements seeking the deplorable act. And a flurry of emails and telephone calls followed between the creepy Crawford and animal crime detectives, with the man telling the undercover officers his plans in graphic detail and looking for a willing horse owner. If you guys can help with what I'm seeking, I'm definitely interested in traveling out to meet you. Adding he had purchased a non-refundable ticket to Phoenix, where the illicit rendezvous was to take place. Last Friday, Michael was met by undercover deputies at the Phoenix airport and taken to a meeting with volunteer sheriff's posse member and the horses in Tolleson, Arizona. The meeting, which was videotaped, showed Crawford picking out one of the horses to commit the act on. before the step stool and rubber gloves could even be thought of, Crawford was arrested. It was the 8th arrest for bestiality made by sheriff's deputies in the past 5 years. Perversion has clearly reached a new level, Marciapa County Sheriff Joe Aparicio said in a statement. Here's where you think the story is over and couldn't possibly get any worse. And this is where I make you pay for thinking it all. In arranging the meeting with the undercover deputy, Crawford had volunteered this little tidbit of juicy information. That he would be bringing 5 shirts with him for the horse to urinate on to keep as memories, little mementos of the trip. Now, that's classy.
Oh, wow. So
these are your neighbors, people. These are the men across the street from you.
So Mr. Ed, 1958 through 1966.
Wow.
Yes, people, that's 8 years for you guys that can't do math. Actually, I think it's 9. That's
I was told there'd be no math.
That's a long running series. Mr. Ed is a horse who is owned by Wilbur Post, as in dumbass. And Mr. Ed is not just any horse.
Dumas.
He talks to Wilbur. But this gets Wilbur in all sorts of trouble because Mr. Ed won't talk to anyone but him. Now, this is going way back, but I know as a kid you probably watched some really old movies. Do you remember the movie Francis the Mule?
I don't remember that one. I clearly remember several episodes of Mr. Ed, but I don't remember the mule one, no.
I'm just going out on a limb here, and I think that this was TV's response to the movies, and I believe it was more than one movies, of Francis the Mule, because apparently it was quite a thing for this talking donkey that was in the military. And I think it was Donald O'Connor that starred with the mule in Francis the Mule, and it was quite a funny movie. And like I said, it may have been a
this
series
is one of those
movies.
World War II war propaganda movies almost.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen that, and this goes for our audience too, if
Francis in the Navy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's right. And they used to show them, the wee hours of the morning, the all-night television stuff.
There's a whole bunch of them, wasn't there?
Yeah, and I knew there was more than one, but if you guys haven't seen Francis the Mule or any of the spin-off movies or the sequels, you need to take some time and watch that. I bet you it's on Netflix. I bet you. So, but watch that. Hilarious. And keep in mind, this is movies. People would actually pay to go sit in the theaters and watch this. This isn't something you watched on television. So I'm betting that Mr. Ed was a spinoff, or not necessarily a spinoff, but an attempt to capitalize on the obviously big talking mule horse market.
Apparently there was one back then, I guess. So
We've seen that repeated several times with talking dogs, with the animated things, with the talking animals, the penguins, all kind of Madagascar type stuff. So the talking animals has always been big, especially with Disney. So anyway, that's a show, guys, and you're talking to or listening to a couple of talking animals right now.
Oh, yeah. No, just a couple monkeys here with a football, pretty much. But, no, it's a microphone that we're doing it too. Every week for you guys, right up in your ear hole, each and every week. TonyandJosh.com is where you go to get the or to get the downloads. Our entire show archive there for your guys' downloading pleasure, 100% free. We're using the word pleasure here very lately.
Yeah, not the pleasuring of yourself with a horse. Well, I guess you could be doing anything while you're listening to the show.
Yikes. Well, you guys can listen to the show on iTunes as well, Stitcher Radio, as well as TuneIn. And of course, we would love to get some reviews from you guys. So please take the time to not only subscribe to our show, but also leave a 5-star rating. And we would love to get a comment from you.
Oh my God. Francis in the haunted house. Francis in the Navy. Francis joins the Wax. Francis covers the big town. Francis goes to the West Point
factory.
Yeah, Francis goes to the races, and then just Francis, the one that started it all. And yeah, all these movies were for Mr. Ed from 1950 through 1956. You got to watch some of these guys. Watch the first one at least. So as Josh was kindly saying, and not talking about Francis the Talking Mule, you need to come to the Twitter, and send us messages. Like Dusty did. Dusty reached out to us on Facebook and gave us some of these, two of the most twisted, sick stories I'd ever heard in my life. And, Josh can find some pretty good ones. So hats off again to Dusty for those.
No, seriously. Big thanks, Dusty Dunn. Really appreciate your taking the time to find something like that and send it our way. Keep up the great work, guys. And of course, if you want to do the same thing, we definitely welcome that. Not a for sure guarantee that I'm going to use your story, but if it's sick and twisted enough, there's a good chance that it's going to end up on one of our episodes.
So go over to Facebook, facebook.com, Tony and Josh Show, and leave us a message. Also like our page so you can see about what's coming up, when we release the audio files that we do here on the show. And of course, we're at Tony and Josh Show on Twitter. And you can always tag us, hashtag us, or hash brown us, as I like to say, at # Tony and Josh Show.
Really easy way to get a hold of us would be just to drop an email to newstips@tonyandjosh.com with your show suggestions or any kind of rant or feedback at all.
Go watch Francis the Mule.
And watch us. Well, you're not going to watch us on YouTube. But
a couple of talking mules.
Yeah, we're certainly like that. Tell a friend, guys. Spread the word about the Tony and Josh Show.